AZOPALIX Day 2, Part 2. And Facebook doesn't let you post after 15 minutes and 52 seconds. And that one, just 1 second under. That's why you see it rushed at the end. But there's a lot to talk about, and I'm just going to keep kind of trying to get to it. Um, I could keep going about the arguments about why government solutions by themselves will never work, or that business solutions that don't take in higher values are also not going to be a solid building block for a healthy society. There's arguments that continue to be made on both sides, but nobody's going to be responding to these arguments because, whatever, there's already incentives to stay in your own camp and all of that. So what needs to happen, and as I say, can you make this an election, a political movement? No. So the neighborhood party thing is not really thinking we're going to start a new political movement. It's just a way to talk to each other, maybe. To try to make it clear that there's no other ulterior motives. Because if you do start a political party, it's all about power and money and who gets to all of that. We can get past that, and the way to make it happen is to manifest better ways of doing business, having businesses that actually come close to fulfilling the promises of a society that could work for everyone based on functions that are grounded in community and real understanding of how resources work. And now we have a lot of technology that we didn't used to have. And so if you use all that to empower people and as I say, so what do I need to do to make this happen? Because nobody's going to work with me. So I guess this is just, um, taking notes as I try to make this happen. Well, I need to put things in writing for different groups. I need to talk to different groups, right? As I was saying, Tallahassee has an amazing array of potential connection, targets. There's all kinds of nonprofit organizations because there's a lot of liberal energy. Tallahassee supposedly is the most liberal town in a city, they call it, in the South. It's possible. Uh, Around it in North Florida is possibly the deepest red. And I understand the Trump movement. I understand Trump, I think. I don't want to get into that. Yeah, this is another reason there's no way to talk to anybody. You just got to make things happen. The Trump derangement makes it impossible to talk to anybody. But what Trump's done is open the faucet on U.S. economy. And I'm saying it needs to happen in the economy. So can we take these 3 years of new economy and try to understand a higher order economy that doesn't create the discrepancies that then have half the people wanting to invoke regulations from governments that immediately go dark with uncontrollable influences. It's never been very happy to have to invoke a government to do things you're supposed to be doing because you understand it intrinsically and you have healthy uh, organizations that aren't incentivized to rip people off or take shortcuts on externalities, leave a pile of garbage somewhere, or somehow not deal with responsibly. So that's why when I was Green Party co-chair in 95, 97, I was actually we had 1 in 5 would have voted Republican that had, but 38% that voted Green would have voted Republican, and I had a lot of people. I was talking to the as a conservative idea that you want to be responsible to the environment is because it's like keeping the book straight. So I'm trying to get back to Mike. I'm talking to you. Why are you talking to everybody else? God damn it. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to review what's going on. There's going to be an endless argument about businesses aren't doing it right, and then you have Alan Kirk having an endless but a very useful, interesting. This is how we could do it if we had anybody investing in doing it right. But how is anything going to really happen? So degrowthers want to say somehow we have to stop all this overproduction. How are you ever going to do that, you guys? You can't vote that in, and then what? You're going to send armies of people. How are you going to pay those armies or of suits and uniformed whatevers to enforce all the degrowth stuff come on, it's just so unreal. I can't believe that there's intelligent people that think that's really going to happen like that. The degrowth is going to happen when the shit crashes and then half of us starve. That's one way it's going to happen. Another way is if we choose to be more focused about production and consumption. And this is the whole community based path. And that's not going to happen from government either. It needs to happen by enlightened new businesses or old businesses retrofitting into the logic of this. And you've got out west, all the pueblos are near, each pueblo, they, they haven't been moved off their land. Are these tribes that could be understood? How is that like a single organ? How much do they take care of all their personal needs? Is that something that could be looked at as a model for a single corporation that takes care of all people's needs? I don't care. See, here's the thing. I'm trying to convince people. You say, Mike, you're just so utopian. No, I'm not talking to you. People thinking I'm trying to convince you. I'm talking to me. What do you got to do, Mike? I got to write a proposal to venture capitalists that makes this like a logical investment. There's a whole permaculture movement out there. I think could be networked into a higher wisdom of how they're deploying what they're trying to do. Right now, they're stuck in the old paradigm of selling courses in permaculture. Look, guys, you need to create a movement where there's permaculture farms popping up all over, however you do it. So you go door to door and say, hey, can we plant some permaculture on your front lawn? I know that's not ever going to work, but somewhere there's a logic to the idea that you're trying to create a permaculture food market, but you're just trying to get people switching over to local permaculture, food. As this is one out of maybe 18 crucial projects, but it could be the foundation. And then there's other things like, if you want to get back to one company or a network of companies that provides universal lifelong education as a company benefit. So then you need that people to tend that resource. That's a job, but it's also a resource for the rest of the network. And different things that you can liberate that don't cost a lot, that mostly are already there. The Jordan Peterson's got a pretty interesting, graduate school. There's everyone is switching over to homeschooling because the public schooling system is a horror show. It's an example of how the worst. I was a public school uh, substitute teacher in the Albuquerque system, which is I was taught at the most diverse high school in America. Albuquerque, it's high in the middle, the one right in the middle, because it's got a lot of Orientals and everything. Hispanic, Anglos, white people are called Anglo in New Mexico. The DEI thing is insane. The finger pointing to everyone as racist, misogynist, and everything else, all of that's just ridiculous. That's why we're not talking about this anymore. So what needs to happen? Well, you got to hold. All right, I'm kind of scrambling around. Maybe I'll get to it eventually. Here, we need different things written down in flyer form. I'm just going to skip to this. The Generation Z could get people interested in the logic of looking for ways to do. See, the community-based logic can be explained as what it means and how you can get to it. Local food production and people helping each other as much as possible. Businesses that network and try to ground their resources in inside deals. It could be like, for example, a restaurant that gets its farm food from particular farms, and then if you're a customer, you can maybe sign up to. I don't know, man. I mean, there's it's about thinking imaginatively about resources. It's also things like you could do on another end of this. Um, people all have people that are neighbors that have nothing in common. Well, what could be things in common, and how you start working that into a part-time job? Here's the thing: I've had vision of how this works. I'm not being able to describe it too well now, so I'm not even going to try to describe it to someone else about how they think it might happen. I need to figure out what I need to say to who. Maybe people can give me a clue. I know there's a directory of what's already out there that's moving in this direction. A a lot is already out there. So that's another. All right, let me try to be specific. A directory of what's already out there and a way to talk to each other in such a way that you can start becoming bringing some synergy and synthesis. That's pretty much what the neighborhood party unlimited proposal is about. Um, just let's say that could be the directory. And then right now, there's a lot of that energy is still locked up in competitive business. What would it mean to network? It would mean, for example, not everybody competing on online for remote businesses, but people sort of mapping and having each having enough of a local clientele, like guilds. Guilds of old is a good model for how small businesses could network and include education as part of their function, as well as offering. And then you have things that are simple to do, like you put a bunch of like exercise machines in the back room, and you have like a health club function, or you get health clubs to become part of your network. And all of us see that's another thing that needs to be near the top of, let's imagine 17, 18, try to get to that. I've never done the whole list. I can think of right off the top, health breaks out into like staying healthy, eating healthy, and then restaurants. And then the whole idea of psychologically enjoying life, which is festivals and there being a town square and different things people can do that don't cost anything, but you can organize it. And these are functions of businesses. People go to work, and now in a kind of a, you might have a thing that you think of as your primary interest, and that's what you're doing lifelong education in. That can make you an expert in something or other. But meanwhile, everybody has basic skills of that are useful to the community, and you might all be, willing to do a couple of hours of this and that. That keeps you healthy and out in the, let's say permaculture farming or other things. And this is what you could use AI for: is have like, hey, here's the things that need to happen today. If it were a community, you'd say, yeah, we need over there at such and such's house. They need some help with this. They need some help with that. And you could get back to an actual business that's as complex as that. And what's their offering? Their offering is a community that works, and they're asking you to join. And meanwhile, part of that is that they're selling things that they make that they use, but you can buy some at a, and know what it costs, and everybody starts to understand what they're doing and what they're using and how it works. Start to make your own toothbrushes, start to make your own cups, start and plates and clothing, and not your own personally, but the local network of businesses. And now you've got businesses like Walmart that have sucked up all the small businesses, and there they are. Well, Walmart, we got to talk to you now. But you start doing the alternative, and then you say, look, Walmart, we're going to take all your employees unless you start working with us now about how we can use your assets, which is distribution networks, getting things from China that we're trying to get more local, maybe. And it's a very complex society we have, and Walmart controls a lot of resources because they earned their place there by being efficient and maybe not paying their employees enough. You know what? That's what it is. That now we're talking about we're going to be trying to treat employees better, and Walmart doesn't treat them that bad compared to everyone else. But a community-based business is going to be thinking of employees as their asset. Now, I say you can talk to Walmart, but not me. We have to make an example happen. I can maybe get some people to help me make an example happen of this. So personally, how do I get some people to help me write a business proposal for enlightened venture capitalists? That's one vector. The other vector is a directory and a website of what's already happening where we can define community based more specifically. It's not that complicated. I've had neighborhood party websites before that were pretty good. They cost a lot. Uh, that's another, vector. There's black university and white university, blonde university. I'm telling you, it's just like that. I'm sorry, it's the fact. But in the middle, rail yard art market, little flyers to each one, so we could have brainstorming a future that makes sense because people are still thinking they're going to just get a career somewhere.